Okay, my friends, this is going to be about the Venturi and how simple this is. If you have kids and they're over 10 years old, make sure they don't shine these things in their eyes, but other than that, they can't get hurt. We have a pulsed red laser. Now I'm showing what I would consider to be probably the best design, and I'm going to elaborate on it during this video. But what I want you to take away from this is a slit. I could only just replicate this real quickly so to show you, because Rod broke down the experiment 5, 6 years ago, and he just doesn't have time to recreate it, and I don't have either. So if you have, good. But this is a slit. This is not stuck together and you can't get through here. There's the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest slit. You know, he just used two. What he did was, instead of having this, he just had two nails. I mean, that's all they were. And he had his laser right here, and he shined it through there, and he took his phone. This is exactly what he used. And it is exactly what he used. Samsung Galaxy S3 phone. It goes back to 2012, and he just boop, 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 took all kind of pictures as he was shining through this, and he did all kinds of back and forth and this and that and green lasers, and he changed the design of the slit, opened it up, put it back together, used tiny pins, used bigger pins, used more pins. He did all kinds of stuff. And I mean, the amount of time he spent, this goes back 7 years ago. So this is not like it was yesterday. And, you know, somebody should do something. We need energy. Okay, I've been showing this for many years. Rod Warren was the one that came up with it absolutely by accident, using just two finishing nails. Now, and I let him completely do all the experiments, and he did a fabulous job. So I'm not taking credit for any of that stuff. And here's what, I have the same stuff he used. I did some myself, but I could not. You know, I just didn't have the time to do what Rod did. He spent a lot of time. Now, this is how I would design the Venturi. You see this here, going here and going here? I would make that out of copper and maybe round it. You know, you can't beat the design he had. I mean, it was just fabulous, the results he got. You can't, I mean, how can you beat that? How can you beat that? So I'm just saying, maybe you could harvest more by going through. And copper has a lot of extra electrons in it. Now, I don't know if that's going to work or not. I don't know what Rod used for finishing nails. Well, maybe they were copper. I don't know. You know, we had very little interactions, and it was just an accident on his part. This is not like we did a lot of research here. This was just an accident. But I did a lot of research on my atomic flood theory, and then when I saw what he presented, I knew I could prove it. So that's my side of it. His side was to do the experiments, and he just doesn't have time to do this anymore. He's got a lot of things going on in his life, as we all do. What we need to do is put that through this Venturi, and then directly behind the Venturi, something that has a bunch of the different transition metals in it that can harvest all of this really, you know, they call them thin film metal deposits. You can't use these outside to harvest sunlight. They just won't last. But inside, in a box like a shoebox, shooting a bunch of these lasers through and collecting on the other side, and then running that voltage down and the current, because it's going to have a ton of power. We're going to be able to create a ton of power for absolute free, 100% free. No chance of overreacting, no chance of anything. The only interaction is like within like an inch or so. In that shoebox, there's no way it can possibly hurt anybody or ever run away or do anything bad that I can think of. I mean, I've thought of through all of the different things, and the only thing they could do, of course, you have fuses and things like that. You don't want to overload circuits, obviously. I mean, that's just basic understanding. The whole idea here is, if we can increase the energy of what came out of this laser, and there is no question we did that. Alright, this is basically the interaction. It splits, and then we harvest just the white, and then we bring it back using a device like this. This is my free energy prototype. Somebody has to design this, and we have given it out to a bunch of people, and people are working on designs right now. So if you want to work on one, work on it. There's no patent on this because I've been talking about this for years. Now the laser shoots out through here, through the venturi, whatever venturi you want to use. Construct anything you want. As I told you before, I would maybe try something similar to this. Similar to that design right there, scoot it right in between, but you have to have such a tiny slit that only the white can squirt through. And then behind this, you need some kind of a solar collector. And I say use all kind of different colored transition metals to absorb thin film. And they're using, they call them Perscovites, I believe. All right, we're in desperate trouble for energy. We know these things are right off the shelf. You've seen it work. There's no question it's working. Nobody will look at this, and it just boggles my mind. Why not? And I've tried everybody, and I know I'm cut off from society mostly because of my views on everything that I've seen, and and the things I've seen are not making sense. And this makes sense. They want free energy. If we can get free energy, this is insanity. And within 2 weeks to 1 month, we would know 100% what it is going to work, or forget about it. Because all we have to do is get somebody to engineer this little slit and keep playing around and playing around and playing around until they get it right, and then get a little solar harvester. I don't care what kind it is. Right now you could use some cheap little thing that's on the market right now and see, are we getting more than we put in? If we're getting more back than we put in, we're good to go. If not, forget about it. But if the Perscovites, they give a much higher quantity of electricity from the same amount of input. So the Perscovites we would need eventually. Everybody's going to need them eventually anyway. So they're being worked on right now, and they are these transition metal thin films, but they're not, I don't think at this point they're designed to be in the outside environment, because there's a lot of rules and regulations on these solar panels. I think they have to last 20 years or something. I can't remember. It's quite a long time. I was kind of impressed with the regulations they put on them, but it forces you to use certain materials that are so resilient that they don't have this fluidity that the transition metals have. Let's just consider it that way. The transition metals have all kinds of electronic movement through them. The quartz, the solar panels, the silicon panels, they're not quite so fluidy. Now don't forget, get a hold of somebody, anybody that you can think of that's in government or wherever, electronics people, whoever, and show them this and say, please do something about this. We're in desperate trouble right now with energy, and we're ruining the world. Everybody's fighting over it. It's a disaster. If we could get free energy, we could start to save the world instead of continue to destroy it. And this will create jobs. It's not going to destroy the economies and everything. It'll make the economies 100 times better. We could create free food and everything else, because everything is dependent upon energy. And that's what this does. It increases the value of energy for free. Absolutely for free. If this was 5 watts of energy coming out of this laser, and we got 1,000 watts over here, which I think we've quite likely do, we have just increased and gotten free energy. I mean, this is as simple as that.